Hello, Reformed Mythologist Nate Morgan Locke here with a video continuing our series of visual storytelling. And we've just landed in the last episode thinking about this quote from Alfred Hitchcock. In many of the films now being made, there is very little cinema. They are mostly what I call photographs of people talking. When we tell a story in cinema, we should resort to dialogue only when it's impossible to do otherwise. I always try to tell a story in the cinematic way, through a succession of shots and bits of film in between. So that's Alfred Hitchcock, and I think the best example I can think of from his back catalogue is his film Rear Window. So here's the introduction to that. So the camera's moving towards the window, and then out across the threshold. Cuts to the cat. Here's motivated movement as we follow the cat, but then quickly we lose interest in the cat. We're just looking around, the subjective camera, taking in the whole scene. Lots of different windows there. Nothing especially interesting at the moment. And then we're back inside the room, and there's a sweaty Jimmy Stewart. Insert there of the temperature. So we've got the thermometer there. And then now we're going to get to know these characters a little bit better. There's our pianist. He's going to have a story. There's the couple who sleep outside and their story. And the camera moves to find the lady known as Miss Torso, who is going to be quite a significant character in the story, particularly with regard to Jimmy Stewart's relationship with Grace Kelly in this film. And we pan along, and just in the street there you see the dog and then the children running after the truck with the water. So again, emphasising the heat, which is why all the windows are open, which is why everyone's so visible. And here lie the broken bones of L.B. Jeffries. A huge amount of camera movement in this first thing, but it's just to key us in. So there's a broken camera. There's a photograph of a car crash. Move around, other photographs of exciting events happening around the world, more camera equipment, and then, oh goodness, what's that? Oh, it's a negative of this lady. So there we go, there's the intro, and then we come to a couple of clips we're just going to look at now, which just have very clear narratives that are going on. One's a tragedy, one's a bit of a comedy, but we'll see, as we saw in the last video about Police Chief Brody looking from his perspective. We're going to see that now from Jimmy Stewart's perspective, from Jeffries. He's the one looking, and as we keep cutting back to him, we'll get more of a sense of what's happening in the story. So here's Miss Lonely Heart. One thing I always notice is how well positioned that bottle of wine is in that little window, and then brought in. And the wine is kind of the key prop. Obviously we've got the candles and the matches. That little lean in from Jimmy Stewart there, that cut back to him, is curious because it's sort of telling us we haven't missed something. He looks away and he's back, very confused. He's starting to get a bit of a sense of what's happening. And it's going to be key that he has his own glass of wine. This will allow us to him to connect with her in some way, and then for us to feel positively about him. That's it. Cheers. Raising the glass. And then sharing the sip. And then the shoulders drop. And there's the sadness. So a very powerful clip, that one. This lady who's very clearly having a miserable time, but trying to act out sort of a fantasy, what she'd like to do, but all told visually. And as I say, it's about cutting back to Jimmy Stewart to show his reaction, and that's what's going to help us to have an understanding of what's going on. We don't just see Miss Lonely Heart through those little window screens, but we see him watching her. So here's the comedy. Here's the other clip to give an example of a story that's going on within Rear Window, things that he can see. And in this one, again, keep an eye out for how many times we're cutting back to Jimmy Stewart to show his response. He's going to kind of guide us through, even though he's not narrating. He's helping us to understand what's happening and also to feel a sense of who he is as a character. Again, look at this beautiful framing. So frame within a frame. It's a huge part of Rear Window. What can we see through the window? What can't we see? And this couple helps that she's obviously still in white. She looks more like a bride on the wedding day. And that those flowers are just off to the left, so they're with her. So again, she looks much more like a bride. Opening little clip there. Jimmy Stewart reminding us that he's happy. He smiles. And then now he's confused. Why have they gone out? Oh, okay, so he's carrying her across the threshold. And there's the recognition. Okay. Fascinating here. This shot. He looks away, but then with his face, and then turns back with his eyes. So it's a fascinating shot, that one.
Window shopper.
And there we go. The judgment comes for being a voyeur, or, as we might say, a peeping Tom. Here's a couple of minutes from French film director Francois Truffaut interviewing Hitchcock. He's talking about Rear Window, and in this clip, they are joined by a third person, a lady who's translating for them. So it's just a fascinating conversation about the film Rear Window. Here we go.
Well, you had the possibility now for doing a purely cinematic film. In other words, you had the immobile man see one piece of film, he looks. The second piece of film is what he sees, and his reaction. This was the cinematic motif all the way through the film, proving that the three pieces of film represent what we know as the purest expression of cinematic idea. Pudovkin, you know, always wrote about the woman who looked down at the dead baby, and the face never changed, but you felt compassion. Take away the baby shot, and put a plate of food, and there was hunger. Just in the same way that we take a close-up of Stewart. He looks out of the window. We'll say, for example, he sees a woman holding a baby. And you cut back to Stewart. He smiles. Take away your middle piece of film. What he sees. He looks. Some other piece of film. He smiles. Now, let us put in a middle piece of film, a girl in the nude. He's now a dirty old man.
Maintenant, c'est un vieux salaud. Ce sourire.
Parce que c'est un personnage qui
because he's a character who is
n'est que curieux.
Only simply curious.
Finalement, il est assez immoral.
But he's rather immoral.
Et vous le condamnez un peu.
And you condemn him to some degree in the picture.
Well, he was a peeping Tom. Sure, he was a peeping Tom.
Oui, c'était un voyeur.
But, aren't we all?
Mais est-ce que nous ne sommes pas tous?
C'est ça. Et il est même dans la position du spectateur d'un film qui regarde un film.
And he's even in the position of the spectator of a film who's looking at a movie.
I'll bet you 9 people out of 10.
Je vous parierais que 9
personnes sur 10
s'ils voient quelque chose,
like a woman undressing and going to bed, or even
coucher,
sometimes a man pottering around his room doing nothing.
Ou même un homme qui tripote à travers la chambre ne faisant rien de spécial.
9 people out of 10 will stay and
sur
look.
10 resteront là à regarder.
Oui. They won't turn away and say, it's none of my business, and pull down their own curtain.
Et retireront leur volet. Ils ne le feront pas.
So then, Rear Window is asking questions about what it means to see, what it means to watch, what it means to view something, and for yourself not to be seen, for you not to be viewed. So, reminding me of this clip from Mickey Flanagan, most famous for his Out Out stand-up comedy bit. And just to set up this little clip, he, at this point in the stand-up routine, has said he's had the awkward situation of bumping into his neighbour 3 times on the same day. So, first time's very happy. Second time, sort of raises his eyebrows. Third time, has to say, this is awkward, you've got to stop following me. And so this is what he's going to end up doing for the 4th, well, to avoid the situation. Here we go.
So I'm going to show you what it led me to do. I'd heard tell of this pastime. What am I doing for the first time in my life? What am I doing? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I am peeping out of my own curtains. This is where I've come to. Peeping. My aim being to see the old man leave his home, run to the cleaners and avoid the awkward 4th mate. So I'm peeping, fair enough. Made a discovery, people. Peeping is fun. I think it's the clandestine nature of it. You're in a powerful position. You're peeping. They don't know.
So there we go. There's part 2 of our visual storytelling seminar here on Reformed Mythologist. Please remember that media consumption is optional. You are under no obligation to watch any of Alfred Hitchcock's films or any of the stand-up comedy of Mickey Flanagan. I'm Reformed Mythologist Nate Morgan Locke. I'm glad you were here.